You're listening to Boomers Today with your host, Frank Sampson.
Welcome to Boomers Today. I'm your host, Frank Sampson. Of course, each week we bring you important, useful information on issues facing baby boomers, which I'm smack in the middle of, certainly their parents and other loved ones. And we just want to really thank everybody for all their support. Many of you listen to the show via our syndicated shows on radio stations throughout the country. Many of you listen to us on our free app, Boomers Today app, if you have an iPhone or Android phone. Some of you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Stitcher. There's all sorts of online stations as well. So a lot of different ways to listen to Boomers Today, and I just want to thank you all for all your support. Our listeners continue to grow every single day, and they do because we have just the best guests. And we have another wonderful guest today. We have with us Spiro Koulouris, who is a leading gout diet expert, author, and blogger. He's dedicated his life to inspiring people to obtain a healthy lifestyle and living a gout-free life. Spiro has battled with the disease for years and has dedicated himself to become educated and informed on the subject. He has become an expert in the different home remedies, medicines, health practices, and experiments from around the world. As the founder of goutandyou.com, Spiro is intent on educating the gout sufferer in hopes of beating this terrible disease for good. Spiro, thank you so much for joining us on Boomers Today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to be here, Frank.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a subject matter, my opinion, is people don't talk about it enough. I know that, and it affects, I know you and I had a chance to talk a few minutes, and it certainly affects a lot of people, maybe after they're 50, in their 50s, 60s, etc. So, and I know that it had a horrible effect, I remember, on my father, and I just think there's just not enough education on it, so I really appreciate you coming on. But let's talk about what gout is. Maybe explain that first, what gout is and who it does affect.
Yeah, gout is an arthritic condition that affects about 2% of the general population, but I would say it affects about 10% of those folks that are 50, 60 years old and older. As you age, your chances of getting gout increases. It's basically an excess of uric acid in the blood that accumulates. You have, when you eat foods, there's a chemical compound called purines. Every food has purines. It's just meats, processed foods, seafood has more purines than, let's say, vegetables, right? And as your body and your kidneys and liver break down those purines, it produces uric acid. Now, uric acid is usually flushed by the urine, but if your kidneys are not working properly and are not flushing efficiently, then excess uric acid remains in the body, and then it crystallizes in the joints, usually in the big toe. It could be in the knee, elbow, hands for some, and then you get a gout attack. And that's what basically it is. It falls under the arthritic family. It is the most common form of arthritis today.
It's interesting, form of arthritis. So is there a way, obviously through blood work, I would think, but is there a way to know, hey, it's coming and we see it happening, or is it kind of when it hits, it hits?
If you're doing regular blood work, I would recommend once a year. Your doctor can notice if there's an increased trend of your uric acid levels going higher and higher over time, and you can prevent it and take preventions. But for most people, it just comes out of the blue. Usually you'll get a gout attack out of nowhere in the middle of the night, and then you'll go to the doctor. They'll ask you to do blood work, and then they'll see that the uric acid level is too high, and that and diagnose you with gout. That's how it happened with me. When I visited my doctor, I went in there thinking I busted an elbow, my ankle or something, or stubbed my big toe. And then he told me, no, it's probably gout for sure. And I asked him what gout was. He explained to me, and I was 26 at the time, and I didn't want to believe it, right? But then the blood work came back, and then he pointed out that my uric acid levels were too high, and I was diagnosed with gout, which was a shocker for me because a young person is not supposed to get gout. But in my personal health situation, I have a small, tiny condition of thalassemia minor. I was born with it, which is a minor blood disorder. It's not serious in my case, but that could be the root cause of me getting gout at a young, early age. For the majority of the people, gout usually, the people that get it are usually obese, people that eat a lot of meat, drink a lot of alcohol. Those are the main culprits. So usually bad dieting and alcohol are the culprits. Offensive foods that could trigger gout are usually seafood, red meat, pork, processed meats like sausages, cold cuts, and alcohol. A lot of people that drink a lot of alcohol will eventually get gout later in life. So yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to the foods. Those are the most offensive foods, I would say.
So you were 26 years old when this happened. So obviously you felt strong enough about it to really dedicate yourself to helping to educate people on gout. You must have felt pretty strong about that.
Yeah, I was searching online for information, and I couldn't find good patient stories or a good community where gout sufferers could share information. Most of the sites are mostly Mayo Clinic or Cleveland Clinic or medical websites, right? So I decided to blog about it, do my own research. And as I looked at studies, medical studies, and research, basically published my opinions on it through goutingyou.com. And basically, goutingyou.com is a site where you could find plenty of tips. What foods, I break it down to what foods to eat, what foods to avoid, and other lifestyle topics surrounding gout. To live a healthier life and control uric acid, because at the end of the day, dieting is very important for gout sufferers. You will be treated with medication for most. Most will be treated with medication. But at the end of the day, you still want to control your diet, because if you do not, if you continue your bad eating habits, the doctor will only increase the dosage of allopurinol or colchicine over time, which are the two main drugs to control uric acid levels in the blood.
Got it. We're going to talk about the proper diet for this in just a moment, but I know that there's a lot of perceptions of gout, and you hear the term rich man's disease. So how did gout, get that term? I know you talked about drinking alcohol and rich foods. I assume it's related to that, but you could expound upon that. And is it really a fallacy that it only happens to people that just do that? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, the rich man's disease, the story with that is it goes back to the kings and queens of England and France in the 1700s. Back then, the only folks that had access to rich foods, like lots of great red wine, lots of meat, and rich desserts, right, were the kings and queens or the aristocrats, right? And that's how King Henry and other kings developed gout, if you check that out. Whereas the peasants, they would live in the farms, and they wouldn't be able to afford the meats, right, and the red wines and all the alcohol and desserts. They would eat off the land. And what is off the land? It's basically vegetables, fruits, whole grains. So they would eat a diet in high complex carbohydrates, whereas the kings and queens would eat a diet high in meat and protein and alcohol, right? And that's where that comes from. That's where that story comes from. And they coined the term the rich man's disease.
So it's really not a fallacy, though. I mean, it makes sense what you just explained.
No, it's not a fallacy. Yeah, it's fact. It's fact. Exactly right. And that's why I advocate in my website for gout sufferers to switch their diet to one that's high in complex carbohydrates. So I recommend at least 80% of your daily calories be complex carbohydrates, like fresh vegetables, legumes, 100% whole grain breads, 100% whole grain pasta, 100% whole grain rice. Avoid the refined carbs, beans for protein. Then you'll see your uric acid levels start coming down. That's going to help it. 10% can be fat, as animal fat like eggs, low-fat milk, Greek yogurt, butter, and so on. And the final 10% can be protein. So I do allow, if you want to have meat, you enjoy meat, go ahead, have 10%. That's about 4 to 6 ounces a day, about 200 calories of your favorite, not your favorite meat. I would say avoid the organ meats, definitely 100%. Avoid pork, avoid sausages, processed meats. Stick to healthy chicken breast, lean beef if you want to have a steak once in a while. Make it lean, not high in fat. Make sure you trim the fat. Turkey and fresh fish. I would stick with those meats for protein, basically, and avoid the rest when it comes to protein, because that's a big offender when it comes to gout, because it takes about 90 hours for your body to break down and process meat, whereas vegetables, it's processed very clean in your body and comes out rather easily, right? So basically, that's what I advocate on goutingyou.com is an 80% complex carbohydrates diet, primarily 10% fat and 10% protein.
So somebody, listening, and we got a lot of people probably, listening there in their 50s and 60s, let's just say they had no previous family history that they were aware of. They had their blood work, the uric acids were normal. What would you say to people like that as it relates to the diet? It's a good diet anyway, what you just went through, but what would be your recommendations to that, to somebody that has no, it seems like maybe, they don't have gout, they don't have any family history of it, etc. What would be your thoughts there?
I would recommend this diet as well. This diet as well, because I've had folks write back to me, tell me they went to the doctor's office, they did their blood work, and the cholesterol levels went down, their sugar levels went down. Thank you very much for this diet. So I know it works, and it follows very closely, actually, to the classic Mediterranean diet, which follows very similarly to those guidelines, right?
Exactly. So you've been through it. So I haven't, but people that I know have. They say not fun at all. So really, what? Explain what happens. What is it? What happens? How does it affect your day-to-day life, etc.?
Well, a gout attack usually comes in the night because that's when your extremities in your body are the coldest, and it usually strikes then. So while you're sleeping, so even a bed sheet over your foot, that pressure, you won't be able to tolerate it. That's how painful it is. Your big toe usually becomes very warm, reddish, and it's basically throbbing, and you can't walk. You have to limp around, basically. And usually lasts for, I would say, anywhere between a few days, if you could treat it quickly enough with colchicine, up to a couple of weeks for most. But sometimes it can go even longer for others if it's really a big attack. So it's very painful. You can't get around. You're basically stuck at home. If your job is basically manual labor and you need to walk around, you won't be able to go in that day. Some people compare it to the similar pain to giving birth. So it's up there when it comes to being a painful condition.
So you don't want to get it. You don't want to get it.
No, you don't want to get it. Exactly.
Yeah. So, Spiro, we're going to just take a real quick break here just to recognize our sponsor. When we come back, we're going to learn more about some of the treatments and medications, and we'll share your website and talk about the types of things you're doing to help people with this disease. All right. So I want to remind everybody that today's show is sponsored by Senior Care Authority, an elder care consulting organization that has a national network of professionally trained and experienced local advisors to assist families in determining the right path for your loved ones. They'll discuss various long-term care options, whether it's in-home care, assisted living, memory care, nursing, or if you just need an advocate to get advice from, a local Senior Care Authority advisor can help you right now. So for a free initial consultation with an advisor in your area, contact Senior Care Authority at 888-809-1231, or you could go directly to their website at www.seniorcareauthority.com, and you could find an advisor in your area. We're back with Spiro Koulouris, who is the founder and a leading gout diet expert of goutandyou.com. So, Spiros, thank you so much for being with us and talking about this. I have a few more questions for you. Well, first of all, let's start out. I mentioned your website, but why don't you share with anybody, any other contact information you wanted to share, if you want, or just the website, and what people could learn on your website or any services that you provide.
Well, basically, my website is goutandYou.com. If you suffer from gout, or you know anybody who suffers from gout, it's a great resource to learn how to work with the condition and see what foods you could eat, which foods to avoid. We dive into mostly dietary information, but there's also lifestyle information and medical information as well. I answer all emails, so if anybody wants to email me with questions, I will respond within 24 hours. So info@goutandYou.com, and we have all this. We're live on all social media channels: so Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, you name it. It's all at GoutandYou, which is our handle for all social media channels.
Got it. So let's say somebody does end up with gout. What are some of the treatments, medications? What options do people have?
So this is what's going to happen if you visit your doctor during a gout attack. You just woke up and you're feeling that pain in some joint. You will visit your doctor. They will probably treat the inflammation with colchicine. It's a drug you take on a daily basis until the pain and inflammation subsides, or they will treat it with NSAIDs, which are corticosteroids. Basically, it could be through a needle injection on the affected joint to lessen the pain and get rid of the pain and inflammation. After the pain and inflammation subsides, even a bit before that, they will decide if they're going to put you on allopurinol, which is the main drug, to lower uric acid levels over the long term. And usually for most gout sufferers, it's a drug you have to take for life. And they'll determine a dosage. The most popular dosage is about 300 milligrams daily for most gout sufferers, and you take that for the rest of your life. It's a rather safe drug with very little consequences or any symptoms. You may experience a rash once in a while. That's the only symptom I've experienced with the drug. And that's pretty much it. There are other drugs for folks that have really severe high uric acid levels, like febuxostat, but it's very similar to allopurinol, just basically it's a stronger, more potent version.
Okay. So you say that the medication they could end up taking for life, is it common for gout to come back to those that had suffered from it?
Yeah, if you don't treat it, and that's another issue in the gout community. Most gout sufferers from all the conditions like diabetics, heart disease, and so on, this community doesn't like to take their drug because they won't feel symptomatic after they clear it, right, for the first time. And then after a few months, they might say, you know what, I'm stopping with allopurinol. I don't believe I'll get another gout attack again. I'll just go back to my old ways, and boom, after a year later, they get another gout attack, sometimes even more severe, and then they're back in the saddle again. So for those that don't take their drug, I recommend at least you do regular blood work with your doctor. Make sure uric acid levels are below 6 milligram DL. If not, you're going to get another gout attack. It's just a matter of time.
Did you experience another one?
Yeah, at the beginning I was stubborn, and I did not want to take the drug, and exactly that's what occurred. I got a few gout attacks, and after that I realized, yeah, this is for life. It was a tough pill to swallow, and ever since I haven't had any other gout attacks.
Yeah. Well, why is there such a, I don't know, you say the word or the name gout, and there's just this negative perception out there. And people just don't they don't want to talk about it. Why do you think that is?
It's an embarrassment. Some people are embarrassed by it because when you hear gout, most people associate it with you eating lots of burgers and drinking lots of Cokes and drinking lots of beer. So they kind of make fun of you. But at the end of the day, anybody can get it. I mean, the Western diet is mostly high protein, right? High sugar intake. That's another culprit, sugar. Raises uric acid levels, especially high fructose corn syrup, which is found in Coca-Cola, processed foods, and so on nowadays. So, unfortunately, it's unfair, but I mean, that's the stigma attached to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the diet you went through and the fact sugar, I mean, listen, you could have been an expert on dementia, and I said, what's the best diet for people to have to decrease their chances of that? And but they would have probably discussed a very similar diet as you just went over. So I think that it's a good way to live.
Exactly.
So, how has your life changed as it relates to your lifestyle, exercises, etc.? I mean, what do you do? What are you doing differently, and what do you recommend to people doing differently than maybe they were before? Just general lifestyle, exercise.
In the beginning, it's baby steps. You're not going to change overnight. If you have bad eating habits, you're not going to cut them overnight. So it has to be a gradual process. That's what I recommend to people. Every day, do something positive, change something, and replace it with something good. So change your Coca-Cola and replace it with maybe some juice, and then from juice, move it to water. It has to be gradual, because your body won't adapt, and then you're going to get the cravings, and then you're just going to go back to your old ways. And then you'll realize as you change your eating habits, slowly, you're replacing your meat maybe with beans. You'll have a bean burrito instead of a beef burrito, right? You'll notice your taste buds will change. You'll enjoy your food more, and it'll taste better. Eating healthier, you'll feel better. You'll lose the weight. Your uric acid will come into control more, right? And that's what I suggest is baby steps. Take it one step at a time. And then if you really like your burger and beer, have it once in a blue moon, right? On a Saturday night. If you want to go to a restaurant, celebrate somebody's birthday, order that burger, have that beer, and you'll be fine overall. As long as the majority of the time you're eating well, you could have your so-called cheat meal once in a blue moon if you're a gout sufferer.
What about on the exercise front? How does that help?
Exercise, very important. The more you exercise, you strengthen the joints. So if you can't, I recommend going to the gym, doing some weight training if you're young. But if you're older, like 65 and older, you don't have access to a gym, at least walk as much as you can. Try and get anywhere between 6,000 and 10,000 steps a day. That's going to help strengthen the joints, heart rate, uric acid levels will be controlled with exercise as well. It's very important. Other than that, you could do yoga, which is great for strengthening the joints as well. And if you don't have time, I also recommend a 7-minute workout, which is on my website on gout-free.com. There's a few exercises you can do in the house with your body, basically, and build some strength in your legs, arms, and back, and so on. But exercise has to be part of your gout lifestyle for sure. Got
it. So tell us, we got just another minute or two left. Maybe give us an overview of the types of information that people could find on your website that are available to them.
Oh, there's plenty at gout-free.com. There's plenty of articles on what foods to eat. We go by fruits, by vegetables, by diets, what foods to avoid. Lifestyle, motivational articles, and a lot of medical articles with a lot of studies. If you follow us on Twitter and Facebook, I publish all the latest studies that come out about gout, and then you'll get a wealth of information there from the doctors and the researchers that study the disease. And that's pretty much it. We also sell a few dietary supplements for those that want to supplement their gout diet. We have NutriGout, which is very popular. It consists of 60 ingredients: milk thistle, celery seeds, Shakapriedra, bromelain, dandelion extract, and turmeric root. So these ingredients work synergistically to flush out excess uric acid, keep your kidney levels healthy. It's not a medication. You do take it to supplement your gout diet and cleanses your organs, basically where uric acid is produced, to keep them healthier and more stable. We also have a popular cream for pain relief if you get a gout attack that you apply in the affected joint. That has great reviews, and we sell all that on Amazon.com, or the primary brand for gout patients on Amazon, and on our website at gout-free.com as well, and some other products like tar cherry extract, Alka Hydra, which is an alkaline water, oral calcium, apple cider vinegar, which helps with digestion, and so on.
Great. Spiro, thank you so much for joining us on Boomers Today. Wealth of information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frank, and I hope I offered some value to your listeners.
Oh, you absolutely did. I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want to thank everybody out there for joining us as well on Boomers Today. Please be safe out there, and we'll talk to you all soon.
You've been listening to Boomers Today with Frank Sampson. To learn more about today's show, visit boomerstodayradio.com and join us next time for another edition of Boomers Today.